Are we ready to begin?
We've established the candidate firm as a viable proxy. Public interest is strong, market confidence is high. I've spoken with my people on the Ark. Our ghost will be ready to activate when the moment comes.
And the research? The trials are complete, yes?
We're close, but we need more time.
Explain.
The tests have yielded excellent results during this phase, but the effects vary. With more time, we can ensure the mechanism will work exactly as required. And you told us the latest batch was ready for release. All of our plans depend on your provision. Delays are unacceptable. To get the data we require, the testing regimen will need to be increased.
We can see to that in Panama. You'll have what you want. Are we at risk?
Our new recruit is ready, but he is unstable.
And the scientist?
Under control. He'll do what he's told.
What about the two that got away?
Missing. Presumed dead.
They interfered in Geneva. That cannot happen again.
If they come out of hiding, I'll kill them myself.
Deus Ex: The Fall. Is it as bad as everyone thinks it is? Much like E.T., I think it gets a bad rap for all the games that came around it. I think that it was only the quality of the game at the time that caused it to receive such a negative reputation. I look at Deus Ex: The Fall and I look at Human Revolution. I look at a game that was given very little to work off of. Not that Human Revolution doesn't set it up for greatness, because Human Revolution, in all honesty, sets the entire world up for greatness. But how do you make a sequel to Human Revolution? How do you canonically continue from that while explaining any of the endings? Which one do you make the proper ending? There were 4. And that's hard to work with. So, seeing as how they wanted to go with the prequel approach, I can understand them wanting to steer away from that. The Deus Ex: The Fall is well written, just not the best voice acted. It's not bad, mind you, just it could have been better, on par with Human Revolution, but it wasn't. So, looking at the way that they animated the characters, this is a clear flaw, and it shows. It's definitely apparent. But it's still not as bad as some games. It's definitely got some quality going for it. It still looks pretty decent. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but there are some times where it certainly does put me in that suspension of disbelief where, okay, yeah, your arm cannot be the size of a toothpick at the bend of your elbow. That's not how the human body works. Just no. So, much like E.T., I think that the games that preceded it and came afterwards just kind of cemented the game's quality as being negative. E.T. is bad, mind you. It's poorly coded and shit like that. That's fine. It's good to point things like that out. But the gameplay and the ambiguity of such is pretty much standard Atari fare. I mean, I've got a couple Atari games, and it's kind of difficult to figure out what you do in some of them at first. It takes you a minute if you don't have the instruction manual, and for some, you just don't have that luxury now that people don't have the instruction manuals in boxes anymore. So it's fair to say that this game didn't have, direct explanation for what you needed to do. Deus Ex Human Revolution was a great game, and it's on par with some of the titles that you'd have seen that were compared to be great at the time for the Atari. But when you look at the negative side of it, when you try to follow up that with more games that try to hit that quality, you just kind of fall flat when you don't give your team enough time and enough to work with. I'm not sure which side of the team decided to work on the mobile game aspect, but I'm pretty sure it was Square Enix, judging that Square Enix is a Japan-based company and mobile gaming is on the rise there. So I understand that mobile gaming is a big thing there, but why didn't you release it for any of the handhelds? This released in 2013. The Vita would have been a beautiful system to release this on. I have one right here in my hands, and it's a very nice system, very well designed, and I gotta admit, I feel like it would have just done better. Not that the Android and iPhone platforms aren't capable of playing this, it's just that actually managing games on the Android and Apple devices aren't quite as easy. This is a definite, like, this can handle it, but with phones, different models can handle different things, and some can't play games like this. So this would have been a fair compromise, and developing the game for the Vita would have really done well, I think. I mean, if you just look at the Vita, it has all the control aspects that were needed to create Human Revolution, and this has more to offer, even. That's just my 2 cents. I feel like the game would have done better on an actual handheld gaming platform such as the Vita. I doubt it would have been released on the 3DS, but it's a possibility, guys. So, why didn't you release it on a handheld gaming system? Japan is flushed with them, if this is really on Square Enix's side. If it's on Eidos, then I don't know what you were thinking. You don't have any experience working with mobile gaming platforms. Like, you don't have the experience with Android or Apple to go out and make this extravagant thing, much like other companies have done now. There are really nice looking mobile games, but you don't have the experience needed to pull everything you can out of them. So, it makes me a little iffy as to why you chose this. The release on Steam is the biggest issue that people like to point out for this game. The fact that it costs $10 to purchase this game for your Steam account. Now, I got this game with a pack, including all of the other 3 Deus Ex games. It included the original, Invisible War, and Human Revolution. Invisible War, I'm going to go back and play, like, before I ever touch The Fall again. It took me all of 4 hours to beat The Fall, and it's really disappointing. To look at Deus Ex The Fall, I guess I have to look at it from the point of, we wanted to make subsequent chapters. We wanted this to be the first one, and then there to be another to explain where they went. Well, you didn't do that, and I don't think you're going to after the poor reception your game got. I personally don't think it was a bad game. You set up a proper atmosphere in Panama, even though with the area being small, it didn't feel like it was as connected in the loading sequences. When you look at Detroit in Human Revolution, you notice that it's big, and the areas to move to different sections are fairly spaced apart. So you're not going to get loading screen, boom, loading screen. So if you leave a building, you're not just going to turn directly and, pop right back into another loading screen. At least not on average. You don't have to. There are capabilities to do this, but it's not as common. So when you're playing Human Revolution, it feels more connected. Panama, I'm sure, was held down by the fact that you had to develop it for a mobile gaming. I've said mobile gaming platform like 80 times here, but you really did, and that's what's going to hold it back. Android and Apple were not capable of creating such an open world experience. Now, Detroit and I can't remember I feel terrible. I can't remember the town in China. I really can't. I haven't played the game in a little while, so excuse me, but whatever the hell the Chinese town was called, I apologize. Both of them didn't feel open world, but they felt alive because they spaced out the loading sequences. They wanted the game to look really good, but they didn't want to have it be mudded down by the open world aspect, because if you make a game open world, it's got to load procedurally, and they want everything to look as nice as they can make it look. And that was good. Now, they tried to take this approach with Panama in The Fall, and to be fair, the game does really look kind of good. I mean, upscaling to the PC was a little challenging. In some parts, definitely you can tell. But no, it seems very fair that they did a good job moving it over to PC, and it looks fairly decent. Audio-wise, it's fair, but I don't really have much to say about it. The soundtrack is almost entirely ripped from Human Revolution. Almost nothing new. If I noticed anything new, it doesn't click in my head. I can't recognize any new tracks. That's disappointing. The sound effects for the weapons, I think, are new for some cases, mainly because they changed the reload animation for the shotgun, so they needed to take out, like, a particular sound effect. So the shotgun has a new sound reel. That's interesting. Not many of the weapons have anything new to them, though, which is interesting. It's the only one that changes anything. Another thing that the game falls flat on is the inability to use the iron sights. It was a really nitpicky thing in Deus Ex Human Revolution, but here the crosshairs kind of tighten up to make standing and shooting a bit more viable, but I'm not sure if that, compensates for not being able to have the iron sights. It makes it too easy. Another thing with the weapons, if I really want to talk about this, the weapons, you have to put in so many bullets just to kill a standard police officer in this game in one of the segments where you have to break into a particular portion. So if you want to kill one to get away and not die, not use a revival pack or some shit like that, I'll get into revival packs in a minute. But if you want to kill anything in this game, you've got to use a lot of bullets, or just run up and punch him in the face, because apparently that kills literally everything except for the final robot thing. Actually, any robots, except for the final robot, can be killed with a single grenade. Hand grenade or EMP. All the small robots can be killed with them. The large robot can be killed with 2 grenades. Gold star, guys. 2 grenades. I never would have thought of that if I didn't do it completely by accident by pressing the G button twice. I pressed the G key twice. It was just like, oh, well, it's dead. Fine, sure. I didn't even mean to kill it that way. So, revival packs. I said I'd get to them. I might as well do it now that I'm done ranting about that. Revival packs are fucking dumb. The concept behind the revival packs is it revives you when you die. That's exactly it. And in the entire game, you have a direct shop on your back. You're carrying a shopkeeper on your back, and you lift him off of you, and nobody bothers to shoot you in this time, and you give him money for shit like revival packs, upgrades for your guns, new guns, ammunition, anything you could possibly need. Auto hack, little things, the little auto hacks that you got for the DLC for Human Revolution. Why was that DLC? Now that I think about it. Whatever. I'm getting off track. But the auto hacks, you can buy those. But the auto hacks can only be used if you're at a high enough level to open the terminal to hack it. Like, you can't just throw it on it like you could in Human Revolution. Another gold star there, guys. What was the other thing? Oh, you can buy weird upgraded versions of weapons. Like, you can buy a Panama Gangster Cartel 10mm. It's gold. It's the only difference, and it looks flashy. Why? Like, for what purpose? Why would I ever need this? Another thing that kind of bothered me was there's a tutorial at the beginning of the game that is absolutely insulting. This tutorial makes a mockery of everything you've ever learned. Now, I can understand telling you how to do certain things that weren't in Human Revolution and things that you've changed, but I feel like you could have just put a prompt in the top left for here's how you move really quick, just in case you didn't know. I don't think you needed to stop me as soon as my feet were planted on the ground, like, alright, let's do this. Use the WASD keys to walk, and I fucking can't. It was 2013 when this is made. It's 2015. If I get another game where they tell me how to walk, I'm gonna be fucking done with this shit. There should not be walking tutorials. It's either use the left stick or use WASD. And if you're making an indie title, then possibly the arrow keys, because they have a weird affinity for that for some reason. I couldn't tell you. Could be something to do with old Doom games and shit. Ugh, walking tutorials need to die. Tutorials need to die in general, but I feel like having the option to be told, hey, how do I do this thing? Because it's not telling, how do I do it? That's fine, but I don't need to be told how to move your left foot, then your right foot with this button right here. Good job, you did it. I fucking hate that shit. So, Deus Ex The Fall decides that it wants to baby you through the beginning and then take away all the things that you got at the beginning, even though you got fuck all nothing, but they still leave you with one of the most important things you received in the opening of the game. you have the Icarus landing system at the very start of the game, and you're like, oh wow, that's actually kind of cool. It actually shows it in the upgrade menu. It's right there. Cool. So you move in, and you're like, oh, well, you've lost all your augmentations now because of reasons, I guess. Because you fell out of a plane, and that augmentate... Sure. So, you've lost your augmentations. You're basically useless. So now you have to go around and do stuff and get your augmentations back. I guess that's imperative. Yeah, sure. But they left you with the most useful one that you could possibly have. You kept it. They didn't bother to sugarcoat it. You still have the best possible augmentation off the bat. The Icarus landing system. It was the most useful thing to have in Human Revolution if you were sick and fucking tired of ladders and shit. It was so useful. You had to use the 2 points to upgrade to it in Human Revolution, which made it one of the first things I bought in that game, other than the strength upgrade to push heavy shit. So, why then, if I have to go out and re-get all my shit, do I still have the most useful one from Human Revolution? It barely makes an appearance in this game because there's not much to do in terms of jumping. There isn't even a jump button. The only time you jump is over barricades. So, there's not much of that little hidden platforming bit. Kind of a disappointment. But, I don't know. I think that it had its purpose because the mobile game, if you moved in the wrong place, you might fall and you might die and people might get pissed off because the controls were shit. Maybe. I didn't play the mobile version. I'm never going to play the mobile version. So, it could have been that they just absolutely were like, okay, they're going to kill us if we don't give them this because the controls are awful. Just do it. Do it. Give it to them. But that seems like a cop-out. You should make them earn the ability to not be pissed off, dude. Like, it's kind of like with the armor. Getting shot, dying, you're kind of pissed off. Like, I don't want to fucking die. Don't let me die, game. Buy the armor upgrades, then. I don't know. That's just me. The game is not that bad. It suffers from the Invisible War syndrome here, where you look at Invisible War, it came after the original Deus Ex, and it was hard to measure up to the, like, absolutely heralded masterpiece that this game is. It is held up on such a pedestal that it's hard to hold even a candle to it, because you can't quite get high enough to do it. But, I don't know. It suffers from that. And I feel like if it wasn't on a mobile gaming platform, this would have done a lot better. I'm not saying it's worth $10, because it fucking isn't. It's worth maybe $5, but it's $1 on Android and Apple devices. So if you have a competent tablet and a Bluetooth controller to play it with, do it, man. Just play it. It's actually worth $1. Do you want to play with tablet controls? I wouldn't recommend it. But if any of you do, please leave a comment below. Like, how did it control? How did it play? I'm really interested. I'm not sure why, but I'm morbidly curious as to how the game would play if I were to use it with touchscreen controls. Game. Deus Ex The Fall. 5.5 out of 10. It's decent. I mean, 5.5 is more of a joke here, but I don't know. It's not that bad, guys. If I had to give it an actual rating, I'd say it's 5.5 to 6. Somewhere in there, if I have to give you a number rating. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not really that good when it comes down to animation quality and some other things, but hey, it was a mobile game, and it has really decently written story elements. So, shut up. I mean, sure, it made some of the antagonists seem a little boring, but that was it was interesting to at least see where some of their motivations might have lied. Is it bad? Maybe. It might be a bad game. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, guys. You might think it sucks. You might look at it and say, this is an absolute piece of shit, and why did I even look at this? Why why did you play this for 4 hours? I love the Deus Ex series, and to be honest, I kind of wanted this to be something good. And to be fair, it's not the worst thing I could have expected from them, because they could have done a lot worse. It's not that bad. So, looking in on it, yeah, you might think it sucks. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I think the game is not very good myself, but I do not think that it's absolute shit. So, take my opinion with a grain of salt. I don't necessarily want to change anyone's opinion. I just want to throw it out there that this game is not as bad as it appears on the surface, and maybe give it a shot past where you're actually throwing it to, you know? Give it at least give it more than 30 minutes of your time. Let yourself get past the opening portion of the game and get into the part where you actually get into a discussion with one of the main antagonists of Human Revolution, because you actually kind of learn a few things about how he looks at his mission, and it does kind of shed some light on some aspects in Human Revolution. You don't have to. You can look up gameplay of it if you want. I might even just post the cutscene if you ask for it. I don't know. But, in my opinion, it's a decent game, worth a look-see. Give it a shot if you're bored and you have nothing better to do and you have a couple dollars to waste, or even just $1 on your tablet. Give it a shot. Okay, so really quick, I had a thought in post, and I wanted to throw it at you here. Okay, so there was another interesting thing I noticed that I actually just remembered. There's a portion of the game where you fight bell tower employees. Like, you fight their you fight bell tower security. Now, why this is interesting is because in bell tower, they're wearing, like, gray and yellowish uniforms. You know, they basically look like the police officers in Panama for this game. So, when you actually get to the bell tower security firm in this game and discover that they're wearing a very different outfit, you start to connect it to another outfit in Human Revolution. This outfit appears in the very beginning of Human Revolution at the attack on Seraph Industries. Yes, Bell Tower is wearing the same uniform as the members who attacked Seraph Industries. This is interesting because it could mean that Bell Tower was contracted for the hit on Seraph itself. That is interesting. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you've actually watched this far, I apologize for any audio problems I might have. I'm well aware that my recording is not up to par with how it might be if I had better equipment. I might change this in the future. I probably will, but let's be honest, this early on, I'm not going to bother shelling out money for recording equipment. So, I thank you for listening to me ramble on about a game that you've probably never given more than a glance at. So, thanks for watching. If you guys like this video, go ahead and let me know in the comments your opinion on Deus Ex: The Fall, Human Revolution, Invisible War, or even the original Deus Ex. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this game or any of its other installments. All that aside, guys, have a good one.
Commander. It won't happen again. Ben Saxon will die.